please give a warm Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta welcome to Jamie Lula. And welcome, singing with us today is Shasta Bridges, and Jennifer Farron is a special guest with us also this morning. Welcome, Jamie. It's wonderful to have you here with us.
Good morning. A little extended Halloween treat for you there. Sorry. I love you, David Ault. You rock my world. You are an amazing. You know, he babysat my son when he was a baby. Oh. And we were and sat with him a couple times. I don't think William remembered it. I love this song. This was the last song I wrote for my There's a Healing Going On record. And as I said in the first service, I'm a recovering Catholic. And I thought I had to get good before I got to God. I know none of you can relate to that, but and then I got to this teaching and realized, oh God, the infinite Spirit of God. If God is infinite, then it's within me and within each one of us. And right where I am, God is. So I come to God in all my glory. When I fall down, when I stand up. When I'm naked, I'm naked. You can't see me. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Can't see me. 'Cause I've been hiding behind my garbage, hiding behind my armor. Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Can't see me. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. But I've been thawing in your love light, thawing in your love light. Frozen, I've been frozen in my history. Oh, dying, I've been dying to what I've been. Oh, dying, I've been dying to what I've been. But I've been rising like Jesus showed me. Rising like Jesus showed me. Dying, I've been dying to what I've been. Oh, Lord, you naked. Lord, I'm naked. Can you use me? But I've been high and I've been frozen, dying and I've been rising naked. Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me? Naked, Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me? Oh, naked, Lord, I'm naked. Will you use me?
Jamie Lula. Yes.
You hear them like talking about you. They're talking about you like you're not in the room right now. They're just going, he's so fine. I love you too. I'm so glad you finally got here. Thank you. One word, one operative, seminal, irrepressible word, and that word is now. Now. It's the foundation, it's the mortar between the brick of what it is that we stand on as beings, not as human beings, as spiritual beings. Now. Now means that unilaterally, multidimensionally, everything that I hunger and I crave and I pray and I cry over and I am in anguish about, everything that keeps me up at night, everything that has been a part of my human story up until this present time has always been absorbed in the now of perfection. And I want to struggle with that. I want to argue with that. I want to debate that. I want to bring up my cases and I want to show how that cannot be true because I am that divine exception. And when we humble ourselves and we get real, then we realize that the word now is the truest definition of each and every one of us. That who I am now is housed within this macrocosm of everything that I can and even cannot imagine. There is this scripture in 1 Corinthians that you've probably heard of before because it's used a lot literarily. And it says, "For now we see through a glass darkly." For now we see through a glass darkly. What are we describing? We're not describing that now of our spiritual selves. We are describing the now of our humanity. We are describing the now of what's going on with us in the density of this human interaction as we walk across this earth. I see the world through a glass darkly, meaning I see things veiled. I see things densely. I see this opaqueness that sort of creates this illusional barrier between what it is that my heart is craving and what I think is possible. But I can't see it crystal clear. I can only see all of the reasons why I can't. And when Paul wrote those words in 1 Corinthians, He ended it, though, with saying, "For now we see through a glass darkly, obscurely, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know, even as also I am known." I love the last part. But then shall I know, even as also I am known. Meaning that at some point in the process of my human experience, I will get to the clarity where I realize that I am at one-ment, that I am that. That I am that I am. That I am the vessel and the instrument to the degree of my willingness to let that which is the divine flow through me. I will someday get to that point. And that's the irony of this thing called the path and of life, is because I believe somehow, some way, in the process of that. And to the degree that I believe in the process of that is the degree in which I will have to experience the process. But the reality with a capital R is I'm already that. Do you see the insanity of that? But my humanness says what? No, honey. You got to go through the process. You got to go through the process before you are holy. You got to go through the process before you are deemed worthy enough. You got to let go of a bunch of stuff in order for you to stand in the glory of who and what you are. When in reality, the reality again with a capital R is you and I are already that. But I would never stand before someone I'm counseling, before students in my class, or before you, and tell you that your belief in the process is wrong, because guess what? That is your reality with a small r. And you see, I'm teeter-tottering between the reality of the small r and the reality of the capital R. And when I look through the glass darkly, and I discern and I define my experience, my relations with the world, my worth, when I look through the glass darkly and I make that my reality with the small r, it is my reality. And I very convincingly stand in allegiance and alliance with that, and it becomes my story. It becomes the story of those who have come before me. It's my forefathers' story. So therefore, I raise the mantle of that. And yet, there is that moment. Perhaps it's the moment of the last breath, where all of a sudden we are willing to let go of the reality with a small r for the reality of the large R, which says, honey, you are already that. And it says, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. There will be that moment, that capital R moment, where I will know who I am the way that knows what I am. I point up to that, but it's everywhere. You see, because that which is, the isness, isness is my business. The isness that is God, the isness that is source, the isness that is energy, the isness that is the divine, the isness that is the intelligence that created worlds and the systems that make this human body work. That isness is here. And I am viewed, I am considered, I am upheld by that isness as whole, complete, and perfect. One day, if I really want to be congruent with my alignment, then I will see myself the way the all sees me. And that becomes the goal, you see. And I'm still hung up on the process. I will eventually get there. So something really revolutionary happened in class this week. I don't usually use the word revolutionary, but it was. Should I tell you? Sure, why not? So we have this class called The Power of Your Word, and we've been studying some different manuscripts and sermons by our founder, Ernest Holmes, and a lot of it is centered around the master teacher, Jesus. And one of the things, I think, in our assumptions, our reality because of what we've been taught, it's as if this teacher, this master teacher, came into this world self-actualized. Now, there's a difference between self-actualization and the purity of the soul. We all came in with the purity of the soul. This self-actualization, though, was something where in human form, Christ consciousness was uncovered, received, allowed, and then disseminated by means of him. So one of the things we forget, or perhaps we were taught, is no, he came that way. But you see, we don't know all of the years of travel. We don't know who his teachers were. We don't know the many hours where he sat at the feet of another and gleaned and learned the things that created the self-actualization in him. Guess what? He thought and believed in what? The process, just like you and I. And when I said that to my students, I said, how does that make you feel? Some of them said, that makes me feel hopeful. Because what happens is we have this subversive seduction where we compartmentalize and think us and them. We look at other people who have created and produced magnificent works within their human form, and we think, I will never be able to achieve that. And so we substantiate and fan the flames of duality as if they are separate from us, forgetting once again, that the oneness, the wholeness that we speak of through our candle lighting service, the now that I started to speak of this morning, all of that is centered around the fact that we are not divided. You can't have two unities. You can have only one wholeness, and you and I are a part of the wholeness. So even Jesus, in his humanness, learned through process. One of the things I always loved in this kind of an example was, consider that this room has been locked up for 5 years. Somebody lost the key. It's been locked up. The lights have been off. No one had the wherewithal to figure out how to get back in. And then 5 years down the road, Gregory finds a machete, and he hacks away all of the vines that have overgrown the building, and he somehow jimmies the door and gets it open, and he walks over to the light switch over there, and he flips it on. Do you think that it takes 5 years for the light to fill up this room? He said, the light, it's been dark in here for 5 years. Do you think that the light starts way over in that corner over there, and then just like a very slow orb, it begins to finally fill the cavity of this space? No, what happens? That in the moment of the decision, as Raymond Charles Barker used to say, the power of decision, the moment that the switch is flipped, the light then appears. And you see, that is your truth. That is your reality with a capital R, is that the moment that we let go all resistance, the moment that we adhere to complete allowing, it's as if the universe flips the switch and we are flooded with the remembrance, not flooded with the stuff that's been waiting to fill us, but flooded with the remembrance that it was always there. Because you see, the power of the light was always there. It needed participation. If I pick a stone out of a riverbed and I put it into the sun, and the stone has been in the riverbed for hundreds of years, it does not take hundreds of years for the stone to dry out. The moment that it hits the sun, it begins the process immediately. But you see, we have equated ourselves with some kind of submerged stone. And we are waiting for something, anything to intervene to bring us into worthiness, when the worthiness has been inside of us and the process has been there all along. But I've been seeing the world through a lens darkly. I've been determining and defining things as opaque, when in reality, the truth of who I am has been waiting patiently for me to accept who I am. For me to accept who I am. So we talked a little bit more about this master teacher, and the fact that we still don't know what countries he traveled to. We don't know who his tutors were. We don't know the process of his teaching, but there obviously was, because he evolved into that capital R reality, where being able to see someone and to claim instantly that healing was something that was not exclusive for him. But you know, even in his process, are you ready? I don't know if you're ready for this. Are you ready? Even in his process, he would forget. What? There was a Syrophoenician woman. I don't know if you know what a Syrophoenician is, but easy translation is she was a Gentile. And, you know, the Gentiles and the Jews did not get along. There was great conflict. There was great judgment. We have none of that exists today racially. But back then, it was a big deal. This Syrophoenician woman walked up to him, and she pointedly asked Jesus for a healing for her daughter. Now, the Jesus that you might know and grew up with in Sunday school would have readily said, yes, it is done. That's not the way that the story goes. Remember, she's a what? She's a Gentile. The Gentiles, from the Jewish perspective, were considered the worst of the worst, loathsome. And he said, who are you to request bread as a dog? Essentially, he called her a dog. But this is the beautiful part about consciousness. Guess what she said? Because you see, there wasn't a, oh yeah, from her. There was a capital R realization in her without waiting permission from him. And she said this, yes, but even dogs must eat. And in that moment, he humbled himself and he said, my powerful woman, your faith has made your family whole. He learned from her. I asked my students again, how does that make you feel? Several of them were upset because I had just destroyed the archetype of their Lord Jesus that they had grown up with in Sunday school. And I said, but that's not the point. The point is I'm trying to get you to understand that when he then did eventually say, great things have I done, but guess what? Greater things. It's not then just this beautiful pithy statement. It actually has some meat to it. Because what he's saying is, I, through the process of my self-actualization, finally humbled myself and was willing to be a student and was willing to learn so that I could allow that self-actualization, that is the now, to come and work through me. And guess what? So can you, because I didn't have it and I got to it. And so can you and I get to it. And to me, the value of that makes that statement of even you and I then are a part of the one more valuable. It makes it more tangible. It doesn't make for a really good story. It makes for an undeniable invitation from the universe to say, when are you going to accept your now? When are you going to just say, okay? Enough with all of this stuff about what happened to me. Enough about all of this stuff about who did what, and I was left out of the will, and mommy loved him best, and she took all my stuff, and he took this and that and the other. This bickering energy that prolongs the process. Because you see, you and you alone determine the rate of your evolution. Do you get that? No one else is determining the rate of your now. You and I are determining the rate of our evolution. And so when I think of that, I think of the invitation that is constantly being extended to me. I recall that other scripture that says, many are called but few are chosen. And I think that that's the translation of that and the way that that has been defined is completely inaccurate. That when I look at that statement, it's really an invitational statement that simply should say this: all are called, but few are choosing themselves. And the choosing of thyself, the choosing of self, is the adherence to the fact that in this now moment, I have all that I need. And I began to do a check of what is going on inside of me about the fear that is holding me back, about my allegiance to lack and limitation, about my fear about what's going to happen to me, about this whole thing about the future and what's going to become of me, and trying to macro manage now in order to be in the energy of prevention about then. And realizing that by thinking the other way, by not thinking the way in which the human world works, then people call us irresponsible. Or people call us impetuous, or people call us flighty. And what I realize is that when we call those kinds of names out in other people in that way, all that we're really doing is shining a light upon our own fear. You and I are called to live lives that appear to be daring. Daring is a weird word because the reality is it isn't really daring, it's simply living. You and I are called to behave boldly, but again, in the final analysis, is it bold or is it actually just behaving the way that we're supposed to behave? You and I are said and we are revered and we are praised for being so courageous, but the reality is the polarity of courageous is fear. And so by being courageous, I'm actually giving life to the fear as well. Look at me, I'm so courageous. That means that I'm still entertaining the fear. The now is saying, no, none of that. You are not courageous, you are not bold, you are not anything other than the divinity and the naturalness of who and what you are. We want to claim something as a miracle, which means somehow some external force has come in and intervened, when really what it is the divine ordinary, finally having permission to breathe and have life. And as I've said before, we get to go, yay, ordinary. An ordinary just happened. But it's the ordinary reality with a capital R. And so I want you to pause for a moment and I want you to think, what is that thing that I am so interwoven in, that I have so completely forgotten my purpose? What is my shame? What is all of that that prevents me from being 100% surrendering to the now of the capital R reality that is inside of me? When will I remove the opaqueness of looking through the lens of the glass darkly and seeing, as Paul said, I know even as also I am known? Jamie has this great song. Get up here. And while he's getting up here, I want you, we're going to do some work. Let's go into the laboratory, shall we? I want you to think of one thing. Think of one thing that's really harboring a lot of dense energy in your life. I don't care if it's a fear. I don't care if you're angry at somebody, if you're angry at me, or angry at your mama, or anger at your family, or angry at your job situation, or completely fearful about money. Whatever it is, I want you to take that thing and I want you to say these words. The truth is. Just say that. The truth is. And see if in your mind's eye, while Jamie is singing this song, that you can paint a different picture. That you can go from the small R reality that feels so all-consuming to the big R reality. That is the now, that is the solution.
In my eyes, in my mind, in my heart and soul, in my life, I have been searching for something, but you were my dream. You're perfect. You're golden. You're light. You're love. You're perfect. You're golden, I breathe, when I swallow, caress I feel. When I listen, I hear the most beautiful music out of nowhere. Oh, you're perfect, you're golden, you're light, you're love, you're perfect, you're golden, you're my light, my love. Li-di-di-di-di-di, li-di-di-di-di, li-di-di-di-di.
I want you to take this concept of self-forgiveness, which doesn't have to be a process, but it actually can take place within the now, and to say to yourself, enough. Enough. Because the truth is, and begin to see in your mind's eye the real reality. The hungering of the universal that so patiently is waiting for you to put your brand of being, your stamp of personality onto the world. It's just waiting and waiting and waiting for that margin of invitation to come in so that you can see yourself the way it sees you. And so we say enough. We also say enough to this idea, which somebody said to me earlier, but if I had only known sooner. Enough with that. We know it when we know it. And in this now moment, we have infinite potentiality. We have a world that is beckoning us to come and to show and to cross the threshold of intention and to be. Not to change into, but to be that which we already are. And so we take ownership of our self-actualization. We say yes to the cosmic reality with the capital R. And we humble ourselves each and every time, just like that master teacher Jesus did, when we forget. And knowing instantaneously that we are restored by the renewing of our mind, our commitment, our thought, our action, and our word. And we say yes to that perfection.
You're perfect. You're golden. You're the light of my life. You're my love from forever. In your reflection, I'm perfect, so I'll keep looking at you to keep witnessing my perfection. In you is me. Oh, li-di-di-di-di-di. Li-di-di-di-di, li-di-di-di-di-di. All the angels sing. Li-di-di-di-di-di, li-di-di-di-di, li-di-di-di-di. You're perfect, golden light, my love. You're perfect, And all the angels sang, perfect, golden, my love, you're perfect, golden light, my love.
And repeat after me, the truth is.
The truth is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you.
Healing oil.
Hi, I'm David Ault, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, and there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.